The year is 2014, and ISIS is the largest terrorist organization in the modern world. Known for their series of devastating attacks, they are feared by both people and governments all around the globe. Through the power of the internet, they shared their propaganda and recruited vulnerable individuals from virtually every corner of the planet. However, at the height of their power, a group of hackers named Anonymous made it their mission to combat them and save innocent lives while doing so. From deadly explosions to trolling and exposing members of terrorist organizations, to 4chan Special Task Force being born, to even working with the FBI and counter-terrorists. This is the story of 4chan's fight against terrorism. Throughout the early 2010s, terrorist organizations began to harness the power of the internet, ramping up their recruitment by targeting vulnerable individuals in hopes they could manipulate them to do their bidding. They did this by launching campaigns across many social media platforms, such as Telegram, Ask.fm, Facebook, Instagram, and their most successful platform, Twitter. This website had become the centerpiece of ISIS recruitment efforts, as they could reach individuals from all around the world, and Twitter had difficulty finding and banning all of their accounts. On top of this, it was much easier for them to hack Twitter accounts, giving the illusion that tons of regular people were joining ISIS. By doing this, they were able to trick more individuals than ever before to join their ranks. After wild successes in recruiting people from around the globe, this became a key component for not only ISIS, but terrorist organizations everywhere. It literally allowed them to passively gather soldiers from all around the world, and at the time, ISIS was gaining members at an alarming rate, indoctrinating people from the comfort of their own homes. It was clear that ISIS was quickly becoming a global organization, and only a few began to take notice. However, Western journalists began to document all of the strange pro-ISIS accounts that seemed to have sprung up on Twitter. After a thorough look, they found a whole network of sleeper agents throughout the entire platform. A lot of these accounts were spamming pro-ISIS religious propaganda across the internet. Of course, they found that most of these accounts belonged to real individuals and were hacked by the cyber terrorist divisions, which further reached every corner of social media sites.
The story of how a group that we'll refer to here as ISIS has been able to raise its profile and bolster its fighting ranks is due in large part to the scope and sophistication of its online media operations. ISIS appears to have 4 or possibly more main media outlets. These accounts can attract a few hundred to many thousands of followers. To further spread their Twitter posts, followers use popular hashtags like #WorldCup and USA, so their tweets end up on other Twitter feeds that will be potentially seen by millions of people not necessarily looking for jihadi content.
While governments worldwide did little to stop the spread of ISIS's online recruitment, people across the globe were falling into their trap, and it was clear that someone had to do something to combat it. But then, the unexpected would happen. 4chan's hacker group Anonymous would lose control of one of their Twitter accounts, and an ISIS hacker would tweet a pro-ISIS combat video depicting an assault near Baghdad. Quickly, Anonymous was able to regain control of the account, and they were absolutely furious with ISIS, so they decided to take matters into their own hands and released a video to the public.
To the citizens of the world, we are Anonymous. The events currently transpiring in Iraq have made us as a collective re-evaluate our priorities in regards to recent operations. The Iraqi people have gone through almost 2 weeks of sheer terror most of us will never know nor experience. We are held by a code of honor to protect those who are defenseless, both in the cyber world and the real world. These savages who have no religion or morality are bent on burning everything in their path, killing and pillaging as they go. They must be stopped. Several days ago, their electronic division assumed control of one of our Twitter accounts, claiming it for themselves and releasing several graphic photos of their assault near Baghdad. These tweets have since been deleted. We sincerely apologize to the Twitter followers who had to witness this without warning. To the state of Qatar, Turkey, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you will not escape our wrath. Evidence shows your continued support and supply to ISIS. If this does not promptly stop, we will be forced to unleash our entire legion against your pathetic excuse of a cybersecurity. And to the United States, another attempt at fueling your military-industrial complex for the sake of security and democracy will be grounds for our complete assault against your virtual government infrastructure. You have been warned. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
ISIS was quite literally everything that Anonymous hated in this world. From their extreme ideology to their mass killings of civilians, Anonymous knew that they had to do whatever they could to put an end to this madness. So they decided to begin their fight where ISIS gets their unseen strength, their recruitment. If Anonymous could put an end to ISIS's online recruitment, then they would lose their hidden global power and would no longer have their steady flow of volunteer soldiers lurking inside countries around the world. Hashtag Operation ISIS would then be born, and Anonymous would get to work systematically pursuing these social media accounts to take them down. When they found an account that was clearly compromised or had ISIS propaganda, they would then spam report it so that the moderators would see it and take it down. Anonymous also compiled a list of accounts for the public so that more people than ever would be combining their forces to spam report all these propaganda accounts on social media. Because Anonymous has thousands of members from around the globe, the barrage of reports would quickly result in bans. On top of this, there were users looking for these accounts around the clock. As soon as the American Anons headed to sleep, the Europeans would get to work. Then later, the Russians, and even Australians. It was literally a global movement. ISIS could barely keep up, and their army of propaganda accounts was rapidly depleting. From Twitter to Instagram to even Facebook, Anonymous was able to take down hundreds of thousands of these accounts, saving countless amounts of lives while doing so. Even though Operation ISIS seemed to be going well, everything would take a turn for the worst on the 7th of January 2015. The time is 11:30 a.m. in Paris, France, and two masked individuals armed with automatic rifles would enter a building owned by the French magazine Charlie Hebdo. The gunmen opened fire on innocent civilians, injuring 11 and killing 12. After the gunmen fled the scene, a manhunt was launched to find them. It would take nearly 2 days, but with the help of Anonymous, French special forces were able to track them down, and after a long firefight, they were able to eliminate them successfully. However, during this time, the attack was followed by several others, creating mass panic and civil unrest in France. After police raided the homes of these attackers, they found out that they were terrorist foot soldiers recruited by ISIS. Along with this, they discovered that Charlie Hebdo was specifically targeted because some of the cartoons they released mocked ISIS religious beliefs. Even though it was just harmless jokes, ISIS thought differently and made many people within that organization pay with their lives. This created an uproar within France, and millions of people, along with 40 world leaders, would all come together for a vigil in honor of the dead. But it wasn't just that. It was a movement where people gathered in unity against ISIS. But these demonstrations not only occurred in France, they happened worldwide. Because of the attacks, Anonymous released another video.
Greetings, citizens of the world. We are Anonymous. Operation ISIS continues. First, we need to clarify a few things. We are Muslims, Christians, Jews. We are hackers, crackers, hacktivists, fishers, agents, spies, or just the guy from next door. We are students, administrators, workers, clerks, unemployed, rich, poor. We are young or old, gay or straight. We wear smart clothes or rugs. We are hedonists, ascetics, joyriders or activists. We come from all races, countries, religions, and ethnicity. United as one, divided by zero. We are Anonymous. Remember, the terrorists that are calling themselves Islamic State, ISIS, are not Muslims. ISIS, we will hunt you, take down your sites, accounts, emails, and expose you. From now on, no safe place for you online. You will be treated like a virus, and we are the cure. We own the internet. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Leaders of Anonymous declared war on the violent Islamic extremists, and with people around the globe by their side, more people than ever were now fully committed to destroying any online presence ISIS had. So they continued to report and destroy accounts that had any association with these terrorists, and they were making some real progress. But some members of Anonymous wanted to take things to the next level, and they felt like they could do so much more. Really, the problem was that even though governments were good at launching complex attacks across the globe, they were virtually useless in managing ISIS's vast presence in cyberspace. One user in particular with the screen name of Sebastian Dante Alexander decided to gather some of Anonymous's hackers, who were extremely passionate about taking down ISIS, and even included some ex-members of the US military and former intelligence agents, along with IT and media professionals. They created a new hacker organization, which could also be seen as a subgroup within Anonymous, called GhostSec. This organization had one goal: to conduct open cyber warfare against the Islamic State and obliterate any other terrorist group online. Since GhostSec had specific goals to accomplish and had a more organized structure than Anonymous, they were able to get a lot done in a short period. After hacking numerous social media accounts and intercepting intelligence, GhostSec was able to track down potential ISIS operatives. After they found these individuals, they would hand them over to the FBI or anti-terrorist organizations, who would take care of the rest. At one point, GhostSec even intercepted a terrorist plot in Tunisia, where they were planning a bombing in the Houmet Souat market, a crowded area where many locals and tourists visit. GhostSec ended up reporting them to intelligence operatives within the United States, and soon after, they were able to make 17 arrests, which extinguished their plan altogether. But this wasn't the only information GhostSec was able to recover. According to some of the communications they intercepted, there was to be a massive ISIS attack in New York City on the 4th of July, also known as US Independence Day, which was only a few days after the attack in Tunisia was meant to happen. Due to the secrecy behind this operation, details on what ISIS was planning are scarce. However, after receiving the information, the FBI apprehended over 10 people, ending their plot in New York City for the time being. Although GhostSec may have won the fight, ISIS told their followers to carry out any violence they could on behalf of their group, but luckily, there was nothing extreme that ended up happening after. In both cases, GhostSec communicated to a man named Michael Smith II, a counter-terrorist analyst who worked with government agencies to destroy violent extremism. This had one unforeseen effect. It established a real connection between GhostSec and the legal side of counterterrorism. Because of this, the face of GhostSec would eventually change into something almost entirely different. They were an organization that even without the unlimited resources government agencies had, they were still able to do the impossible and save countless amounts of lives in the process. And what would happen next would be one of the biggest tragedies that modern history has ever had to endure.
The usual din of a Paris Friday night was silenced first by gunshots. What followed was terrified confusion. How many dead and injured isn't clear yet, just that there are dead, many of them, where just a little earlier were people simply out. And quickly, it all began to point to what appears to be a calculated multi-target assault. They, whomever they might be, reportedly armed with Kalashnikovs and possibly grenades, and police now confirm included 2 suicide bombers.
On the 13th of November 2015, Paris experienced its most devastating terror attack in the country's history. A group of coordinated militants attacked multiple high-density areas, aiming to create as much destruction as possible. These devastating attacks became worldwide news, and countries all over the globe grieved with France. From President Barack Obama to even Vladimir Putin, almost every large country, despite their differences, came together in solidarity with France. Citizens would get involved as well, holding vigils in every main city around the world. It was clear France was at war, and many leaders of the world were willing to help put an end to this needless suffering. Because of all this, France, along with the United States and Russia, would then lead a multi-year bombing campaign in hopes they would destroy the group responsible for this. The Paris bombings not only angered Anonymous, but they were absolutely furious and willing to do anything it took to put an end to the radicalized ISIS for good, so they declared an all-out war.
Yesterday, Friday, November 13th, 2015, our country, France, was attacked in Paris at around 10 p.m. by multiple terrorist attempts claimed by the Islamic State. These attacks cannot remain unpunished, hence the reason why the Anonymous from all over the world will hunt you down. Yes, you vermin that are killing innocent people. We will track you down, as we have been able to do since the attacks of Charlie Hebdo. Therefore, be prepared for a massive reaction from Anonymous. Be advised that we will track you and will not let anything go. We are going to launch the biggest operation ever against you. Expect many cyber attacks. Know it. War has been declared.
This video would quickly get millions of views, and now Anonymous had users from around the world backing them up in the war. In a single day, they managed to take down over 5.5 thousand Twitter accounts, and they even leaked the personal information of countless terrorist sleeper agents. Most of these exposed individuals were instantly arrested and taken in for further questioning. Anonymous and GhostSec were slowly but surely eradicating ISIS just by using the power of the internet.
Make no mistake, hashtag Anonymous is at war with hashtag Daesh. We won't stop opposing hashtag Islamic State. We're also better hackers. Hashtag Operation ISIS.
These actions deeply angered ISIS, and in Telegram groups, they promised a graphic violent end to both Anonymous and GhostSec. However, ISIS was dealing with some internal problems that they began to sort out. Some of their soldiers didn't understand basic cybersecurity practices and were continuously getting hacked, which would leak their intel to these cyber groups. Because of this, the cyber divisions of ISIS trained their soldiers on how to prevent getting hacked. like not clicking links or trusting anyone with information online. This would bolster their cyber defenses, which would make it much harder for anyone who wanted to hack them. However, this wouldn't stop Anonymous and GhostSec, so they kept at it. While Anonymous was still focused on taking down social media accounts, GhostSec took things even further. They decided that another way they could fight was if they went after one of their most important assets, their vast network of cryptocurrency that had been given to them by private donors. If they could take their crypto away, then it would be nearly impossible to fund everything they were paying for. So after some digging around, GhostSec managed to uncover a whole series of cryptocurrency wallets associated with the group. And after hacking important targets, GhostSec was able to recover millions of dollars of Bitcoin, all taken from these militant wallets. While doing so, they even scoured the dark web, searching for and promptly shutting down several Bitcoin collecting sites, where the Islamic State collected their private donations from anyone around the world. They didn't just take down the donation sites though, they also went after every site they owned, such as recruitment, communication, and propaganda sites. The members of GhostSec literally did everything in their power to eliminate any digital assets that ISIS owned. They even ended up trolling them and turned one of their websites into a parody ad for Prozac and Viagra.
Too much ISIS. Enhance your calm. Too many people are into this ISIS stuff. Please gaze upon this lovely ad so we can upgrade our infrastructure to give you ISIS content you all so desperately crave.
But ISIS wouldn't go down easily, and their cyber division was working hard to secure their assets by tracking down the members of GhostSec and Anonymous that were attacking them. It was absolute digital warfare. By the end of 2015, GhostSec had become a notable group in the war against terror. Even though they were respected, they knew that continuing to work as vigilantes while not operating under the law was risky, and if ISIS found them, they would be in grave danger. Because of this, some of the members decided that they would form a legitimate company that would work with the government organizations more effectively. So they founded the Ghost Security Group. Today, they have their own website, and while I haven't found much about them, an anonymous source tells me they work directly with the Department of Homeland Security in the United States of America. However, some of the users didn't want to work with the feds, so they would stay in GhostSec, refusing to operate legitimately. Even though the group took a massive hit, they would slowly recover some of their lost members, leading us to one of the biggest events in this story. Anonymous knew that ISIS used fear to control the people of the world alongside major organizations and governments. Unsurprisingly, this was actually working extraordinarily well. Because of this, Anonymous decided that on December 11, 2015, they would plan coordinated protests across the globe, and they would also flood social media with Photoshop pictures in an attempt to troll ISIS. The idea is simple. By making ISIS angry, there's a higher chance that one of them will slip up, and they can either take down their social media accounts or report them to the police. So Anonymous began spamming Twitter with memes in hopes it would offend members of ISIS.
We milk the goats, even if they are male.
Notice me, Allison Pie.
Just doing my part.
Happy #ISIS trolling day, everybody. It's training trolls for #dashbags today.
The memes continued to roll in, and it was clear some of the members of ISIS were beginning to take notice. One user was even able to pull the Twitter data and found that over 30,000 people used the Troll ISIS Day hashtag. But it didn't just stop there. There would also be protests from Europe to America to Asia to even Australia. It was literally a global movement against terrorist organizations. And at the end of the day, almost everyone there just wanted global peace. Although Anonymous was able to catch more members of ISIS, it wasn't clear how much of an impact this event made on the war. Throughout the following years, ISIS was still a major target, but they were beginning to lose steam. At this time, the legal government of Syria, run by Bashar al-Assad, with the help of their Russian allies and a US-led coalition, was mounting a devastating ground campaign against the Islamic State, retaking city after city. The effort was bolstered by users on 4chan, which I talk about in this video. Regardless, the campaign was successful, and by 2019, the Islamic Caliphate had largely ceased to exist. But this wasn't quite the end of ISIS's influence. In January 2021, the GhostSec leader, Sebastian Dante Alexander, came to the rest of the group with a series of chat logs. Through these, he was able to locate an ISIS camp, as well as reveal their plan to conduct a bomb attack somewhere in Iraq. He took it upon himself to inform the relevant authorities, although they would do nothing to help. But when the day finally came, the militants made a mistake and accidentally blew up the bomb before they got to the site. Sebastian took to the public and expressed his annoyance for the intelligence agencies he told. According to my anonymous source, this was the last time they had ever targeted an operation against ISIS, ending 4chan cyberwar on terrorism for the time being.